Hi, I am so sorry I look gross. I literally just left the gym. Like I have my headphones right here. But I really wanted to talk about something. And when I really want to have an idea, I got to get it out or I lose it, like the motivation to do it. I think there's medication for that or tests to take. I don't know. But what I want to talk about is the fact that Hassan Piker is streaming on YouTube. And this sounds really stupid to just say, but I hope you'll give me some time to explain that point. We'll get back to that at the end of the video. I'm trying to do a connective tissue thing here, but I think if I tell you that, then it kind of defeats the purpose. But I also feel like if I don't tell you, people are going to be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? So in the recent weeks, there has been a certain streamer by the name of Tectone who's recently found out after consistently fucking around. And in this context, he found out by having a protective order placed against him for the duration of 10 years in Texas. Why? Because he's a creepy piece of shit person who was found criminally liable, or sorry, civilly liable for sexual assault. With enough evidence for them to, once again, in Texas, grant a 10-year protective order to which he cannot own guns. There's been official documentation released describing the awful, terrible, horrific shit that piece of shit does, okay? And I'm not mincing words. He's a piece of shit. But why I'm bringing that particular thing up is the fallout from that. Because suddenly, all of the people who were closest, nearest, and dearest to him are now all trying to claim that they were afraid to speak out against him because he was going to do X, Y, Z to them. And you can believe them. I kind of really don't, because you're telling me that someone who was basically known to be a rapist you hung around with out of fear of retribution, but now that he's been found, what, criminally liable or civilly liable, you're not afraid anymore? Why? The protective order isn't against everyone. It's just against his ex-girlfriend. He could still theoretically go after you. That's why I don't buy into this. I don't buy this whole fact that they were afraid. What I do buy is the fact that now the ship is sinking. And that's all these people ever care about. It is quite simply, what is the most financially beneficial thing at the moment? How can I make money from this? Tectone himself figured out that he could grift. He could pivot hard to the right. He's mentioned that again in these released documents, that his content was going to suffer due to the correct allegations laid against him. And so he switched over to doing the whole fuck us on, Kaya Gate, it's okay to be white supremacist, like alt-right type rhetoric, right? To appease that audience so he can just continue making money. These people only care about two things: power and the appearance of power. Because look again at what's happening now. Suddenly, when there's no use to hang out with this person, that was your boy, even though you knew he was a rapist, but now that other people know he's a rapist, it's, oh shit, actually, actually, maybe you're a bad guy now. Because now if I'm associated with you, it's toxic. But before, when I associated with you and it was still toxic, I could still be willfully ignorant publicly. Though these are the same people who are saying shit like they knew more than the general public.
So as somebody who knows more about this than the public, I think that when he comes back, all of this is going to make a lot more sense. I'll certainly say that. So don't worry about it, guys. Tectone will be back. It's not going to be a big deal. Everything's totally fine. And so, yeah, that's it. We told you lies off stream too? Why would he tell me, what do you mean lies? Like, I mean, no, like, has it ever occurred to you that maybe I know more about a lot of these situations than the public would be aware of? Like, I mean, I've known Tectone now for like, what, 3 or 4 fucking years? Like,
these people are terrible people who only care about power and how they can utilize that power to silence people. There you go, you guys. That was the main point here. We got there. Only took, I don't know how long. I'm going to edit this, maybe. But that's the whole thing here. They want to make sure that anyone who could ever criticize them or use things against them will be mutually assured destruction. I truly believe these people collect compromise on each other in order to build up that friend group. And when there's people they can't do that against, they try to sick their audiences on them. They try to make sure that no one listens to them because you can just dismiss them. I mean, perfect example. I could talk about from personal experience, right? Obviously, there's some people who know, like, I don't fucking like Asmongold for a lot of reasons. But none of my reasons will be listened to. Why? Because they can just say, he's obsessed. Oh my God, you're obsessed. You're obsessed. Dude, you're obsessed. Dude, he owned you. You're obsessed. I made a video saying your career's over. You're done. Because they need you to be afraid. They want you to be afraid. It is extremely important to them that you are too afraid to speak out. That is the abuser's mentality. They want to be able to do fucked up shit and have no one say anything. We are seeing that on pretty much every level, from the bullshit drama level to the somewhat more serious but still drama level to our fucking government. Right now, we have journalists like Don Lemon getting arrested by our own company. Well, America's technically a business, but our own government arresting journalists. That is a direct violation of the Constitution. That is a direct attack on our First Amendment rights. And the people who often want to be bootlickers and say, oh, we shouldn't have broken the law. The government is breaking the law, the very fabric of this country. One of the biggest amendments that we have. One of the main reasons why we fucking left Britain in the first place was for free speech. There were no kings. There was no monarch to execute you because you said the king fucking sucks. He has no drip. He has no race. He gets zero bitches, right? You couldn't say that back then. You get fucking murdered. Freedom of speech is supposed to protect us from this very thing. And these are the same people now who will watch citizens being brutally murdered in the streets, being deported, being criminalized for their very existence, saying, yeah, based. While their very fucking rights are being eroded. These are the same people who want you now to take them seriously, who want you to target their enemies for you, or for them. That's what they want. They want you to make everyone afraid. Arresting Don Lemon is to send a message to anybody who dare criticizes the government, the president himself, or the government's actions. Because it was a anti-ICE demonstration. What happened was a pastor in a church in, I believe, Minnesota was found out to be a member of ICE, which in itself is fucking insane to me. And so they protested against that at the church. And you can disagree on where they did or whatever, but they have that right as citizens, their First Amendment right, as does Don Lemon for documenting it. And they're trying to use the Klan Act against him, which not, wasted on me to use the Klan Act against a black journalist. This is to silence criticism. This is the same tactics you see from basically every level of conservative on the right? Like you, again, see it on the video game level, just here. When Dustborn came out or was coming out, people were so against that game that they were going into that game's Discord and posting gore images. There is no reason to go to such lengths unless you simply do not want that game to exist. The idea of games now having queer characters in them gets people in a rage. Well, losers in a rage to the point where they want to attack the developers. They want to make sure that they're doxxed. They want to make sure they never work again for the simple crime of including something they don't have to engage with, whether it's optional or they can just not play the game. But that's not the point. The point is to send a message to the gaming industry that do not put games out that make me feel uncomfortable. Do not put games out that have people of color or marginalized communities in any significant capacity. Don't do that. If you do, we're going to spend fucking years talking about how gay and dumb and woke your video game is. And then when it does come out, we're going to continuously bash it regardless of how it does. We're going to make people's life a living hell. Because we do not want that shit to exist. You see it from larger creators going after smaller creators. You see it on all these levels. Because at the end of the day, these people just want to wield power against their enemies. That's it. They don't want the bettering of anything. They don't want the game industry as a whole to get better. They don't want society as a whole to get better. Because the people who do speak about that, making things better by having more, equitable outcomes, they get attacked. You get called a communist, a socialist, or anything they perceive to be an insult in order to diminish your voice, in order to keep you quiet. Don't let them do that. Going back to me. Again, I'm still here. Yes, my account doesn't have 60 million subscribers. It never did. But you know what? It has more now than it had before. there are people still reaching out and listening to me and others, because they need you to be afraid. If you aren't afraid, they have nothing. They have nothing. Tectone would constantly threaten people, saying that my lawyers are on this. They're not ready. You have no idea what's coming. He tried to do that to intimidate his ex-girlfriend. And guess what? There's a 10-year protective order against him. He didn't win. There are also currently other losers of now finding out the consequences of their dumbass action by being put in a fucking lawsuit because they couldn't stop specifically harassing and sending harassment to one person because they are making too much money off of that. They need you to be so afraid. Because if you're not, they quite literally have nothing. They have nothing. They're scared, insecure people. You know what? I want to do a little game. Right now, I am on Rev Says Des page because he's one of those kind of creators who seems to always be talking about random shit when it relates to people like Hassan or left-leaning things. But let's see if he's objective and also be covering the Tectone situation. Let's see. 23 hours ago, a day ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. 4 days ago. Well, there's iDubbbz. Let's see. It's on again. iDubbbz 2 weeks ago. So no, not covering that. When's the last time he even talked about Tectone? 5 months ago. 5 months ago. Awesome. Why don't we find some other people who normally talk about this shit and see if they're actually going to talk about what their good buddy / person they've always tangentially supported Tectone, what he's done. Let's see. No. Of course he supports a pedophile, but no, nothing about that. Let's check his channel and see if there's something with Tectone. Just curious. 3 months ago. And yet, if we see like Hassan, for example. Two weeks ago. Hassan, but nothing but Tectone. Interesting. Surely Asmongold would be discussing this, right? Because he's Mr. I don't need facts or anything, just vibes, right? Master psychologist. So clearly he's spoken about the Tectone situation. Let me search because there's no reason why he wouldn't talk about it. He talks about everything. He's Mr. I don't give a fuck. Weird. That's weird. Okay, interesting. Okay, what about Hero? Hey, I mean, look, he talks about Twitch streamers all the time. He's talking about High Guard with Tim the Tatman. He's talking about Pokemon. So clearly, and we talk about the Marvel Rivals thing. So surely he's going to be talking about. I mean, female esports is cooked. Of course, LA's streamer click is destroyed. So clearly he'll talk about. More Pokemon. 4 weeks ago. Maybe he got buried because he posts so much information, so much good content. Let's see if he's mentioning it here. 4 years ago, talk about Tectone. What about how about Pinky with her? No. It's so weird because I swear these guys are always talking about how they like cover the news and topics, and again, like Hassan's not even like a fucking gamer, so it's weird to be here. Lots of gaming and anime talk. I don't see that happening here, but nothing about Tectone. Weird. I wonder why suddenly these people who love to cover shit like this suddenly aren't. Weird. Very weird and strange. I hope one day we get to the bottom of this insane mystery. So if you are a person who has, Jesus Christ, morals, a backbone, who has convictions, I'm here to tell you there are more of us than there are of them. It just looks like there's a lot of them because they are doing a very good job at creating these online spaces, these echo chambers, or, safe spaces that makes it seem like their voices are way higher than they actually are. Tectone was fucking viewbotting. So many people are viewbotting, or they're using bots on Twitter. They're using bots on these online spaces to make it seem like you're alone, but you're not. Again, Hassan Piker is a Twitch streamer, gets banned for what he said. goes to YouTube, hits 100K concurrent live viewers. He doesn't get those numbers unless there's a fucking election. Got 100K live viewers. Had people in there saying, oh my God, you're finally here. Are you going to stream more on here? He didn't even fucking realize how much better of an audience he could find on a different platform. Because he was, in a sense, in his own echo chamber on Twitch, right? And that Twitch ecosystem, where it's very obviously skewed towards the right, more so than even YouTube. At least there are other content creators on this platform who I personally watch who put out content that's more thought-provoking and less reactionary, right? But on Twitch, it is dominated like Asmongold. He's the fucking biggest Twitch streamer, like from the political sphere at least, right? And then the huge ones don't even talk about this shit. So it's really going unchallenged. Not the case on YouTube. 100,000 compared to like his average like 40,000. I'm telling you, they need you to be afraid. They need your fear. If you are not afraid, they can't do anything. There can be 1 million people online who come to my comment section and say, Asmongold owns you, or you're obsessed, you're this, you're that. I don't care. And guess what? I'm still making videos. And every time they comment on my videos, that boosts me in the algorithm. So they literally are just helping me. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. And these people think that they matter so much, and they don't. But if you think they matter a lot, then they win. They always use fear tactics. It's always fear tactics. They want to manipulate your emotions. That is why they will never, ever argue things on the actual argument being made. I did a video talking about how white supremacy is ruining discourse, which a lot of you guys actually agreed with, right? But those people who naturally hate anything I say twist it and say, why do you hate white people? And you want to know why they do that? Because they can't argue the actual facts I have and the way I'm interpreting it and how it's supported. They can't argue that because it's the lived experience. It's objectively happening, right? But what they can argue are things that are much more leading into the emotional side of things. Because now if they say this guy's racist, he hates white people, everything I say gets tainted. Ironically, though, if there are actual racists like Nick Fuentes saying shit like that, people go like, well, he doesn't mean it. He this, and that. If I say someone like Asmongold who wants Nick Fuentes to like collaborate with an avowed white supremacist, at the very least has no problem with Nazis, then I get attacked by saying you're looking too much into it, even that's what they say. Because they cannot have a world in which anyone is critical of their fucking favorite Roach King or their favorite grifter or their favorite goddamn liars, right? It's why anything Trump does, his sycophants will defend. They'll break their fucking necks. They'll paralyze themselves by breaking their backs to defend him. Because they can't live in a world where anyone's being able to be critical of them. Neither can the people they fucking support. That's why you're seeing this. That's why you see them always misconstrue everything that's clearly obvious. Someone having their First Amendment rights trampled is, well, actually, they deserve it because they're criminals. Someone being executed on the streets is, well, he shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have been, doing his constitutional duty, exercising his rights. They were all for guns. They loved guns. Even after Uvalde, they loved guns. Alex Preddy has a gun. Woof, guns are bad, actually. Didn't even fucking brandish the weapon. Guns are bad. Renee Gill gets fucking domed by a goddamn fucking pig-ass ICE person. Nothing about guns then. Nurse gets killed. Guns bad. But not the gun that used to kill them. No. That was good. The gun that person had legally. As you know, an expression, they're 2A. Bad. This is who these people are. All of Tectone's friends. They're not talking about this. They're not talking about what he did. Right? And they think they're trying to distance themselves, but they're not taking accountability. They knew he was doing fucked up shit. They knew. They told you guys. They hinted at it. But this is going to hurt my appearance now. So let me now look like I'm distancing him away from him. Let me now look like I'm the bigger person. Again, it's all about the appearance of power and control to these guys. That's all they have. Do not let them put you into a position where you feel like you cannot speak out against it. That's all they want. That is how authoritarianism works. There are people who have a vested interest in making sure that you can't exercise your rights. And I know this is like a video game channel or whatever. And again, like I said, we can tie us back to games, right? How you have these losers online who are attacking game developers for putting in stuff they don't like in games, like queer people or trans people, making videos about, like I covered in my recent video, not being able to upskirt. So I'm going to boycott the game. Not being able to only have male and female as an option. They're making shit woke and gay, and they're attacking all these people consistently, right? They are consistently attacking people because they need their worldview being the only view possible. They cannot even have, they love the marketplace of ideas. They fucking hate that in reality, though. Because in the actual marketplace of ideas, they lose, which is why they have to bend the rules, right? Which is why you see things in like our government, like they want to gerrymander, because they're not confident that they can win on actual even grounds. It's why people want to gatekeep. It's why people do the shit that they do, because they're not actually confident that they can, compete with people. They need to view bot to make it look like they have a bigger voice. Because, oh my God, if people actually saw how many people actually really agree with their viewpoints, like truly agree with them, they'd realize that they're in the minority and they can't have that. Again, Hassan Piker is a Twitch streamer, not even a YouTuber. 100,000 people watching him. More than he had on Twitch. Why? Because he doesn't shut the fuck up. He still talks about his points. You can hate him, that's fine. But he still talks about his points. He still holds on to his convictions. And a lot of people respect that. People like Tectone don't have convictions. Well, not those kind of convictions, but they don't have convictions. And you see that. They're empty. So what they do to fill that emptiness, they use hate and rage, and they want you to be afraid of them. I'm seeing people like this Mugen character, who apparently was really close to Tectone, now again suddenly trying to like disavow that. But he knew for years. And now he's trying to say, and again, I don't believe this, that he was afraid because he might ruin a person's court case, which makes no sense, or that, like it was to protect himself, right? Because this guy's big and scary and he has all this power. But I'm like, but that's why you hung out with them. You hung out with them because of his power, his clout, right? You guys are all clout goblins. So like, even on that premise alone, I'm like, dude, you hung out with someone because you thought it could, again, further your online career, not because you guys had any sort of like morals or convictions. All right, this is way longer than I thought it was going to be. But TLDR, they want you afraid. They need you afraid. Don't fucking let them. All they have is the fear to weaponize. You remove that fear and they're nothing. Because their arguments don't stand on their own. Their arguments only work if you are already fearful. Listen to anything that they fucking say and now it might be hard, but take the fear element out of it. Listen to the shit that they say. Oh, they are all about American citizens, but they want to denaturalize Somalians and then send them back to Somalia. Those are American citizens. That doesn't make any sense. That's fomenting hate against a group of people who they don't like for whatever reason. These people don't have any logical, sound arguments. It's just hate and rage, and they want you afraid. Don't be. If a small ass account like me can weather the storm, right? You can too. I'm telling you, there are more people who think like us, who are normal people, who don't want to see people get gunned down in the streets, who don't think people should be arrested for exercising the First Amendment right? Than those guys who just bootlick whatever the government says, whatever the most popular person says, in order to gain some semblance of power.